Welcome to Strip Cover Lit. I'm Adrian Fort.
And I'm Dalton Gentry.
And we're here with an original tag.
Another original tag. It's like we're doing these every 2 weeks now. How interesting. Tag. This is your child again, because you love the original tags. You love telling people what they should read. This is the Sonnet 18 tag.
This is the Badass Poetry 102 tag.
Ooh, 102.
Featuring Sonnet 18. Now, just to refresh the memory, Sonnet 18. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometimes too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed. And every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest. Nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. So what we've done here is we've taken Sonnet 18, and we've broken it down line by line to make questions out of it. Question 1. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? What is one steamy poem that reminds you of a summer romance?
You're going to disagree with me here?
Of course.
And you're going to say that doesn't work?
It doesn't work.
The best cigarette, Billy Collins.
What?
Yes.
Did you just use that? You used that? Okay, that's fine. I'm a little upset at you.
Do you know why?
Why?
Because there is a line in that poem where he's talking about cigarettes after sex, and that steamy summer romance, that heralds back to that. That's beautiful.
Okay.
And it works, and I'm taking it, and I'm owning it.
Okay. And for that, since you do the editing, I'm going to ruin your sound for a second. For me, guess what it was?
What was it?
Guess.
Emily Dickinson?
Yeah!
Oh, which
Wild
one?
Nights by Emily Dickinson.
Wild nights.
Wild nights, were I with thee, wild nights would be our luxury.
It's awful. It's so awful. Absolutely.
Question 2. Thou art more lovely and more temperate. What is one love poem or erotic poem which makes you bothered?
The Shower, Charles Bukowski. That is an erotic poem, and that is what?
Go on.
It's beautiful. That is absolutely glorious, because let's not go the lovey-dovey route. Let's go gritty. Let's go erotic. Let's go The Shower. I wish I could read it in its entirety. If you have the opportunity, you should look that up.
I don't know if I'm familiar with that. What collection is it from?
That is from Letters of the Dam.
Okay.
We'll find it. It's somewhere in this set, and I'll read it to you later, and I'll get you all hot and bothered.
I hope this isn't cheating, but Venus and Adonis by Shakespeare.
Okay. I can buy into that.
Listen to this couplet. Fair flowers that are not gathered in their prime rot and consume themselves in little time. Should we stop? Okay.
You just want to hit it real quick?
Fuck me.
It should be fine up to that point.
Fair flowers that are not gathered in their prime rot and consume themselves in little time. If that doesn't speak of perversion, I don't know what does.
Okay.
Another quote. Fair queen, quoth he, if any love you owe me, measure my strangeness with my unripe years. Before I know myself, seek not to know me. No fisher but the ungrown fry forbears. The mellow plum doth fall, the green sticks fast, or, being early plucked, is sour to taste.
I can buy into that. I'll give you that. That is a love poem.
It is. Now quick desire hath caught the yielding prey, and glutton-like she feeds, yet never filleth. Her lips are conquerors, his lips obey, paying what ransom their insulter willeth. Whose vulture thought doth pitch the price so high, that she will draw his lips, rich treasure dry. If that doesn't get you bothered, I don't know if any poetry will. Yes. Question 3. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May. What poem awakened or defines an adult theme for you?
I'm going to cheat on this one since you cheated on the last one. And I forewarned you about the string that I'm about ready to go through here. Bukowski in general. Because, and if this will just silence you so I can have it, because Adrian told me to like it, I did. And it awakened a lot of things. That's the first instance of what poetry could be for me.
Do you know why he's doing this? He's doing this because I turned him on to Bukowski, and I can't technically be mad at him for loving it.
The proper term is pandering.
This is abuse, is what it is.
You're getting at least one more Bukowski, by the way. Probably in the next question. What's yours?
Richard Cory by Edwin Arlington Robinson.
Thank you.
Whenever Richard Cory went downtown, we people on pavement looked at him. He was a gentleman from sole to crown, clean-favored and imperially slim. And he was always quietly arrayed. And he was always human when he talked. But still he fluttered pulses when he said, "Good morning," and he glittered when he walked. And he was rich, yes, richer than a king, and admirably schooled in every grace. In fine, we thought that he was everything to make us wish we were in his place. So on we worked and waited for the light, and went without the meat and cursed the bread. And Richard Cory, one calm summer night, went home and put a bullet through his head.
It's beautiful. I love that poem so much.
But that defines something for you, right?
It does.
That's not a childish poem.
Next up.
4. And summer's lease hath all too short a date. What short poem do you wish were an epic?
About the Penn Conference, Bukowski. That's the famous one. That's almost verbatim quoted. It's just a quote. It's so short. But it's wonderful, and I wish there was more to it.
Okay.
And I will get off the Bukowski train for a little bit now.
Spring Rain by the haikuist Issa? I'm not sure exactly how. Rain on a spring day, to the groves is blown a letter someone threw away. There's more there.
There's a lot more there.
Yeah. 5. Sometimes too hot the eye of heaven shines. What religious poem makes your universe a warmer place?
Okay, so I selected this one because this one has always infuriated me because we were not assigned this in a college course. And this is the one piece of literature as a lit major, as a reader, that you should have read. Paradise Lost by John Milton.
We were supposed to read it.
We were not supposed to read it. We were
never
supposed to read a
did.
snippet. But that's the one. That is the most religious poem I could think of.
That makes your universe a warmer place?
Yeah, absolutely. The warm fires of hate because we were never supposed to read it and we should have.
Okay. Mine's The Tiger by William Blake.
Okay.
William Blake, fervently religious.
Yes.
Tiger, tiger burning bright in the forest of the night, what immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? In what distant deeps or skies burned the fire of thine eyes? On what wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize the fist? And what shoulder and what art could twist the sinews of thy heart? And when thy heart began to beat, what dread hand and what dread feet? What the hammer, what the chain? In what furnace was thy brain? What the anvil, what dead grasp, dare its deadly terrors clasp? When the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see? Did he who make the lamb make thee? Tiger, tiger burning bright in the forest of the night, what immortal hand or eye dare frame thy fearful symmetry?
Look at you go.
I like that one. 6. And often is his gold complexion dimmed. What is the most depressing poem that you absolutely love?
I will not read this one, because if you want to hear this one, you should check out episode 1 of Pretty Words, because I did one of my favorite poems for it, Neutral Tones, Thomas Hardy.
Okay.
So bleak, so depressing, one of my all-time favorites, therefore why I selected it for that.
This is a poem that I didn't actually hear of until grad school. Thank you, Ian, for turning me on to it. My Papa's Waltz by Theodore Rothke. I'll just read the first stanza here. The whiskey on your breath could make a small boy dizzy, but I hung on it like death. Such waltzing was not easy. It's just a heart-wrenching tale there. 7. Every fair from fair some time declines. What's the last poem you read?
As I was going through this book and trying to come up with, I'm like, dear Adrian, you make the worst tags. You make the worst tags because they require so much thought. So I'm burning through it. I'm trying to find poems like what can I plug here? What can I use here? I come across this one, which I've never read. So I picked it up. How do you say this man's first name? Is it Thylius?
Phileas?
Phileas Moss? Are you familiar with this?
Mm-mm.
Let me read a snippet for you. This will catch you. This will make you want to read it. They should have slept. Would have, but had to fight the darkness. Had to build a fire and bathe a man in flames. No other soaps is good when the dirt is the skin. Look at that.
Okay.
I wish I could read it all, but it is one we cannot read the entirety of.
The last poem I read was Purple Glow
Okay.
by Charles Bukowski.
Thank you. Thank you. You at least got one
I
Bukowski
got that in there for you. I got that in there for you.
appreciate that.
By chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. What is your favorite poem about nature?
A Noiseless Patient Spider, Walt Whitman.
Okay.
See, I have a little bit of credibility left in me.
Okay.
A noiseless patient spider. I marked we're on a little promenade. I can't speak tonight, I apologize. It stood isolated. Mark how to explore the vacant vast surrounding. It launched forth filament, filament, filament out of itself, ever unreeling them, ever tirelessly speeding them. And you, oh my soul, where you stand, surrounded, detached, in measureless oceans of space, ceaselessly musing, venturing, throwing, seeking the spheres to connect them, till the bridge you will need to be formed, till the ductile anchor hold, till the gossamer thread you fling catch somewhere, oh my soul.
That's good.
And I actually read poetry with, like, passion when it's not Dickinson. Isn't that great? Your move.
I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud by William Wordsworth.
All right.
I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched a never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 I saw at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft when on my couch I lie, in vacant or a pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills, and dances with the daffodils. I think that's good.
That is good. That is wonderful.
But thy eternal summer shall not fade. Shakespeare's work very well may live forever. What is your favorite Shakespearean poem or excerpt?
King Lear, Act 3, Scene 2. Now, if you have followed us from the beginning, you will see that I have mentioned this before, and I yell it every time. But it's the scene where it is the scene where Lear is on top of the mountain in the storm. It's the blow winds and crack your cheeks.
Well, read a little bit. Do you have it?
I don't have it because it's the full play. I don't have the full play just sitting here. Look up Sir Ian McKellen performing as Lear on the mountain. Change your life.
Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 1. We've been over this before as well. To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against the sea of troubles, and by opposing, end them, to die, to sleep no more. And by a sleep to say we end the heartache and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation. Yeah, the whole thing. You just, from beginning to end, it's perfection as far as literature is concerned. Can you argue?
I don't think I can.
Very well.
Very well, sir. Very well. Moving on.
Point has been made. 10. Nor lose possession of the fair thou owest. What's the most badass poem written by a woman?
I pushed this before. I'm going to push it again. Daddy, Sylvia Plath. Because nobody appreciates Sylvia Plath. Because of who Sylvia Plath was. But no, Sylvia Plath is good. And I think we need to mention it. Daddy, I've had to kill you. You died before I had time. Marble heavy, a bag full of God. Ghastly statue with one gray toe, big as a Frisco seal, and a head in the freakish Atlantic where it pours bean green over blue in the waters of beautiful now set, now saw, Nassau.
Keep going.
My reading is just butchered tonight. That one.
I spent about 30 minutes making a case for "I Died for Beauty" by Emily Dickinson in a show we've already done on this channel, and I stand by it. That might be my favorite poem of all time, and whenever given the chance, I will bring it up. I died for beauty, but was scarce, suggested in the tomb. When one who died for truth was lain in an adjoining room, he questioned softly why I failed. For beauty, I replied, and I for truth, the two are one, we brethren are, he said. And so as kinsmen met a night, we talked between the rooms, until the moss had reached our lips, and...
something.
covered up our names, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. Well, it is nice, though, because the first really big venture into poetry, you picked your favorite poem. I think you have to do that.
Yeah.
You have to always promote your favorite. That's why I did neutral tones, which is good as comparison to Dickinson. But we'll get there later.
Nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade. Give me a badass poem about death.
I did this for you.
What'd you do?
Because I could not stop for death, Emily Dickinson.
Tell me why it's a badass poem about death.
It is a badass poem about
Tell
death.
me why.
And we just got done doing
Tell
this
me
poem.
why.
And I'm not going to talk about it anymore, but it is. It's that lovely visual. It's the carriage ride to death. It's the wandering into eternal nothingness. It's good. It's appreciative, but it's still Emily Dickinson, so I can't like it.
I made you say it. Sonnet 146 by Shakespeare. Poor soul, the center of my sinful earth, these rebel powers that thee array, why dost thou pine within and suffer dearth, painting thy outward walls so costly gay? Why so large cost, having so short a lease, dost thou upon thy fading mansion spend? Shall worms, inheritors of this success, eat up thy charge? Is this thy body's end? Then, soul, live thou upon thy servant's loss, and let that pine to aggravate thy store. But terms divine in selling hours of dross, within be fed, without be rich no more. So shalt thou feed on death that feeds on men, and, death once dead, there's no more dying then.
You always just gotta one-up me.
Sometimes.
Like, I give you Dickinson, and you're like, oh no, Shakespeare.
When in eternal... 12. Question 12. When in eternal lines to time thou growst, give me a badass poem about time.
The Wire of Forever, Charles Bukowski. Because if you're going to go throwing around the badass tag, I'm going to get Bukowski in on one. And I promise you, although there are only 2 questions left, I'm done with him.
Okay. This is a haiku by Shiki, who I'm pretty sure Ezra Pound stole his entire being from, so look that up. The autumn wind, for me there are no gods, there are no Buddhas. 13. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, what's the manliest damn poem you can think of?
I just had the page on this one. I apologize, but I have lost it. But I'm going to find it again because it is Digging. Seamus Heaney.
Digging by Seamus Heaney?
Yeah, have you read it?
I have not. I mean, the Beowulf is what I know Seamus Heaney from.
Between my finger and my thumb, the squat pin rests, snug as a gun. Under my window, a clean rasping sound. When the spade sinks into the gravelly ground, my father digging, I look down. And I have to cut there because, again, one we cannot read in its entirety. My grandfather cut more turf in a day than any other man on Toner's bog. Once I carried him milk in a bottle, corked sloppily with paper. It's just the fucking working class. It's beautiful.
It is.
And there's so much more to it. And it ends with, between my finger and my thumb, the squat pin rests. I'll dig with it. It's Heaney's call to his generation before him, saying that you labored with digging.
Yeah.
I'm laboring with this.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. It's the conversation you'll never have with your father about being a writer.
Right.
That's, every male writer has ever thought. Your move.
Along these lines, My Old Man by Charles Bukowski. Here's the beginning of the poem. 16 years old, during the Depression, I'd come home drunk, and all my clothing, shorts, shirts, stockings, suitcase, and pages of short stories would be thrown out on the front lawn about the street. My mother would be waiting behind a tree. Henry, don't go in. He'll kill you. He's read your stories.
Very similar. Very similar concept.
Final question. So long lives this, and this gives life to thee. The sonnet shot through the literary world, spreading like a plague, but instead of bringing death, it brought new life, so that poetry may live as long as the species. What is your favorite sonnet?
130.
Shakespeare's?
Yes.
Okay, go on.
Because I thought that was the point, is to go Shakespeare sonnet, because this is Sonnet 18 tag, so I went with it. My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. If snow be white, why then her breasts are dun. If hairs be wire, black wires grow on her head. I have seen roses damasked, red and white, but no such roses see I in her cheeks. And in some perfumes is the more delight than in the breath that from the mistress reeks. I love to hear her speak, yet well I know that music hath a far more pleasing sound. I grant I never saw a goddess go, my mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground. And yet, by heaven, I think my love is rare as any she belied with false compare.
I also went with Shakespeare, Sonnet 18. No, I'm just kidding.
I really wanted to
figured that
do a
would be
mic
cheating.
drop. I really just want. What do you got?
Sonnet 27.
Okay.
Weary with toil, I haste me to my bed. The dear repose for limbs with travel tired. But then begins a journey in my head, to work my mind when body's work expired. For then my thoughts far where I abide, intend a zealous pilgrimage to thee, and keep my drooping eyelids open wide, looking on darkness which the blind do see. Save that my soul's imaginary sight presents thy shadow to my sightless view, which like a jewel hung in the ghastly night, makes black night beauteous and her old face new. Lo, thus by day my limbs, by night my mind, for thee and for myself no quiet find.
I like it. I like it.
Dense.
Now, this wouldn't be a tag if we didn't tag people.
Yes.
And this wouldn't be a tag if we didn't tag people who we like to bother a lot.
And it wouldn't be a tag if we didn't tag people that we know aren't going to do the tag.
Who would you like to start with?
Hannah from Craving Books, you don't do our tags, even though we tag you. We tagged you about 100 times, but you're going to do this.
I'm going to hit Steve Donahue, because if there's a man who just does the tag anyway and you don't have to tag him, it's Steve. But I like Steve, and I like Steve's content in his videos, so I'm going to tag him anyway.
Amy, from the Dusty Bookshelf, we fully expect you to show us up again, and we'll hate you for it.
Ashley from Climb the Stacks, because again, we're trying to expand out and poke at people we haven't poked at yet and see what they can produce, because a lot of people have really impressed us lately with what they're putting out.
Ryan, from For the Love of Ryan, we have not interacted with you yet, but we're starting a new tag, and we thought, what a better way to put out a peace offering.
Beck from Beck's Books. Had a little bit of interaction on Twitter with her. That's about it so far, and hopefully we can pry her into the tag world as well.
Sam from Sam's Nonsense. Again, someone we have no interaction with at this point, but this is about community, right?
Lizzie from the Owlery. Now, we have poked at her before, but this is her new channel title. It's the Owlery now. It's not Lizzie Book Babble.
And if you have to read 14 poems to have 14 answers for this, you're going to do it.
We accept it. We accept it.
And Devin from Insomniac Reads. We haven't tagged you in anything yet. We really like the content that you've been producing, and we'd like to see where you go with this.
This is someone who we've met recently and we've had a lot of interaction with, so usually opposite of what we're saying is we don't know these people. So it's Sonnet 18 tag. The Badass Poetry 102 tag.
Featuring Sonnet 18.
Isn't that amazing? So if you like this kind of thing, we do a lot of original tags, possibly every 2 weeks. You should check out our schedule on Twitter. Make sure you hit that subscribe button.
Make sure you hit the like button.
And make sure you get on Twitter and follow us at Strip Cover so you can see that schedule.
And if you have a Facebooks, how is this?
Nobody has those anymore. That's an old man thing.
We're at Strip Cover Lit if you're over 60. And what is an Instagram?
I really was trying to make a MySpace joke, but I'm just so tired right now I had nothing. So, Instagram at strip cover lit.